Well, hello there, everybody. I'm JB, and welcome to another Discovery Bay Comics production. Man, I just could not wait. I'm going on record right now. This is one of my favorite episodes ever of The Mandalorian. If you didn't watch it, please leave this video right now because this is all spoilers. We're going to go in depth here in the next hour. We're talking Star Wars, and I really appreciate everybody who's hanging out with me this fine morning. Real quick, I want to hit the chat, say hi to some people who are hanging out. Steven Spock was first in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with me this fine morning. Crazy Guy Comic Song Too Crazy is here, as well as Shiny and Cyborg Dad Mystery. LBD Prophecies in the chat. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out with me today. So to get this thing started, wow, right? Wow. Let me go over the roster of what we're going to be talking about today. I've got a good show lined up for you. What I'm thinking is we're going to start with just the episode. We're going to get in depth on this episode, and then I need to explain for the people out there who didn't watch the cartoons, because man, this is straight fan service for everybody that spent that time watching those cartoons. You were smiling ear to ear. I know I was. And if you don't know what we're talking about Clone Wars and Rebels. These are both cartoons that are available on Disney Plus right now, and man, they tell the story. I'm going to go over those in depth too when we get into the segment breaking down Bo Katan and what her history is. Now, there's also a couple of other little Easter eggs and things we're going to talk about in today's episode. We're going to talk Dark Saber. We're going to talk about what that means to the Mandalorian. We're going to talk Moff Gideon. We're going to talk Ahsoka Tano. And then, there's some other Star Wars news that's not related to Mandalorian, and that's okay. We're going to talk about that too. We've got the latest issue of Marvel's Star Wars Darth Vader. Man, this has been fantastic. I'm going to get in depth on that, and then at the very end of the show, we're going to wrap up talking about a pretty cool event coming from CGC Comics. They're going to be doing a private signing with Harrison Ford, and my mind is scrambling as to what I want to get ready to send to them for that. So let's get into it, folks. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 3. It's actually titled Chapter 11. I've got 4 pages of notes on this one. And let's start with the title. The title is called The Heiress. And who? I don't know. How do we start? So the title's The Heiress, and as they're flying this busted up Razor Crest into the next town, which is actually a port, he's limping in. By the way, this planet looks like Earth. It's mostly water, and as the Razor Crest is limping in, and you see the title The Heiress, I'm thinking, man, I wonder if this frog lady in some way was like royalty or something. That's what my mind immediately jumped to. Was the cargo that he was carrying in some way, royalty in some way? But no, that had nothing to do with it. Anyway, as he comes limping in, he's coming in hot. This might be. I don't ever really remember Star Wars talking atmosphere before, but I know he made a comment that a guidance system was damaged, so he was going to have to come in manually, and therefore he was going to be coming in hot. And the Razor Crest took the damage. I don't know if I've ever seen a scene in Star Wars that showed that atmospheric reentry, and what we've always thought, based on other movies and stuff, that happens to these craft as they come through an atmosphere. Anyway, the Razor Crest gets beat down, and as it comes into this dock, and you could see this is a harbor, and he's coming in hot, and they're telling him, hey man, you're coming in too hot. But he does stop in time, and it looks like he's gonna just put a beautiful, nice, soft landing, and then one of the engines fail right at the very end. He falls into the water, kind of a funny scene. So they're fishing him out of the water, and the first person he sees, I believe, when he gets off this boat is one of the Akbar people. What do you call them? The Mon Calamari, I think is what they call them. And, the Admiral Akbar kind of people. And he's like, hey, man, can you fix this? because this thing's pretty beat up. And he's like, oh, I can make it fly, which is pretty much what he's looking for. Anyway, as he's on the dock, it seems like we're going to close chapter basically to the previous episode, because Frog Lady immediately sees her husband, and we get this, emotional reuniting, and that means, it's done. So basically, it's time for them to keep up their end of the bargain. The whole reason Mando did this was to find more of his own people. Remember, he's got to bring Baby Yoda to his people, but he needs help. So he's questing to go find more Mandalore. And it's time for them to fulfill their end of the bargain. And Frogman says, yeah, man, come on over to this kind of like a hotel. I don't know if it was a hotel, maybe a cafe. And he goes, you'll find what you're going to need in there. So he goes into this cafe, and this brings up another point. Man, Baby Yoda's diet. Everyone was criticizing the kid for eating the eggs in the last episode. And there's a point I want to make real quick. Those were unfertilized. Remember, they hadn't made it to daddy yet. So those were unfertilized eggs at the time that Baby Yoda was scarfing those things down. But anyway, Baby Yoda's diet's been horrible, dude. It's like he only eats in dive bars, right? It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Cosmic Ghost Rider story, where they're bringing baby Thanos into the bar. But anyway, so they go to this inn, and Baby Yoda's going to get some slop, or whatever they call it. Literally, there's a hose coming from the ceiling that is dispensing this slop. And the waiter says, hey, these seats are expensive, man. If you're going to take a seat, you need to eat. And Man's like, hey, man, here's some money. I'm willing to pay for some information. I'm looking for some more of my own piece. Can you help me out? And he's like, yeah, I got a guy. So he goes over and talks to this guy. And this is more of these calamari face people, right? And this guy comes over and he says, hey, I can help you. It's just a few hours sail. That's interesting. Okay. And now we get that scene. Remember, because we had seen this scene during the trailers, but we had no context to that during the trailer. We weren't sure. I was guessing they were on Camino. Honestly, right? Think about it. When you first saw the trailer and you saw him on a boat, I thought he was on Camino because it was a water planet. But obviously we were wrong. He was on this port planet, which I can't remember the name of it. And I wrote it down somewhere. Trask Black Market Port. He's at the Trask Black Market Port. Anyway, these guys get him on the boat, and it seems like they're going to be taking him on a ride. And one of the guys seems like he's making some small talk. He's like, hey, have you ever seen, and what does he call this thing? Squid Face offers a ride, give you a sail. Have you ever fed a manicure? I don't know what a manicure is, right? And he basically gets a big bundle of fish, and Mando's like, all right. So you're standing in front of this thing, and they open up the gate, and he throws the fish in there, and he's explaining, man, this thing looks like it's hungry because we normally feed it twice a day, but we didn't feed it this morning because we were messing with you. And he knocks Baby Yoda into the water. And this thing comes up and literally swallows Baby Yoda, but you can see Yoda had closed the little case. So he gets, sucked up, and Mando jumps in immediately, and they shut the cage over the top of him. He's stuck up in there. And I'm like, dude, he got double-crossed. And the words out of their mouth, and I've been saying it and I'll say it again. We have no idea how important the Beskar is, because these guys were Beskar pirates, basically. And he makes the comment, we've got the Beskar now, right? Lock him in there. So real quick, let me help. The chat flash rate videos has popped in. I appreciate you coming in. My friend Gomez, the comic collector, is also in. Hey, broski, great live stream yesterday, man. That was a lot of fun watching that. Let me get back to this. So now he is under this cage. And again, I'm thinking in my mind, what gadget does he have on his, repertoire to get out of this? What's he going to attach to this cage to blow it up or whatever? Is he going to get eaten by this thing or, there's a lot going on. Well, he gets rescued. And the scene is just awesome. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of images because this is where we first get our first look at Bo Katan and a couple of other Mandalore, but a little bit different than you're used to. Let me get to these three. We basically get to see. By the way, this picture that I'm showing you isn't from the actual episode. The picture that I'm displaying right now is from the cartoon series. Yeah, I mean, this is give you chills when you saw, because this is how they came in. Basically, the three of them come in and start laying the whoop ass on this boat, and they rescue Mando, right? And they open up the cage, get him out of the water, and he's like, dude, there's a baby down there. And one of she's like, I'm on it. Boom, jumps in. You hear some blast. I would have loved to have seen that scene, you know? Because these guys are badass. What did she do under that water? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of like that they left it to your imagination, right? So she jumps under this water and boom, 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 brings out Baby Yoda. It's been crunched on, but he's safe, which is amazing. Now, man, you know, he's like, thank you so much. And they take off their helmets. And once again, remember we were talking about the helmet thing. She takes off her helmet, and man, and again with a nod. There, I always talk about this. That gentle nod of the head of Mando, and Baby Yoda even did it. There was a little Baby Yoda kind of looks up and like, wait a minute. I thought you said that we were supposed to do that. And he immediately goes into, where did you get this armor? Because hey, man, that's kind of his thing. Now, Katie Sackhoff, who's playing Bo Katan, if you don't know, she actually was the voice of this character in the cartoon. So her playing this character just flat out gives you chills. If you saw the cartoon and you're hardcore Star Wars, you got to know that when they took that helmet off and you saw her, you were like, oh man, you didn't even know. When you saw the blue on the outfit, you knew who it was. You knew who it was right there. And she's like, dude, this armor has been in my family for 3 generations. Right? And she's got the blue armor. By the way, there's one man and 2 women in this group. So it's Bo Katan and another lady. And then the guy, his name is Ferrick. I think I wrote down Ferrick. Anyway, she announces that, hey, I'm Bo Katan from Clan Kryz. And I think it's Kryz from Clan Kryz. And she kind of makes a real quick statement that I had to rewind it like 3 times to understand what she was saying. And she says, she's the last of her line. And she goes, you're a child of the Watch, which were a bunch of religious zealots who wanted to bring back the old ways. And she glances down at Baby Yoda when she says that, the old ways, right? So this is very interesting. He's like, he doesn't even know what to say. You know, what the hell is going on here? But she does use some very interesting terms, right? She asks him, you know, well, he explains his mission, and then she says, well, what do you know of the Jedi? Because I can take you to one. And he's, you know, there you go again. I can take you to one, but here it comes. But you got to help me with a mission. Bing! There's your clap. You see, this is how you do an episodical series. Right? You got to have a mission. In every episode, there's a mission. Okay, so what's he going to say? Of course he's going to say, yeah, okay, cool. You're going to take me to some Jedi, but I got to help you on a mission. Cool. I got to get someone to watch the baby. So he takes the baby back to the frog couple. Now the frog couple have done, you know, you did their thing with the eggs, and one of them is hatching. Now, who else out there, if you're listening, or, you know, on the rewind, or who else thought that when they dropped off Baby Yoda, he was going to get to chomping again? Seriously, when he dropped him off, and he said, you know what I'm talking about. Be good. You know what I'm talking about. He was talking about, dude, don't be chomping on the babies. So just for a second there, you got to think, oh, wait a minute, man. I hope Baby Yoda doesn't get hungry. Anyway, So now he doesn't have to worry about Baby Yoda. He's going to go off on this mission with the 3 other Mandalores and himself. And you know, what's the mission? Well, Bo kind of explains that during these times where, you know, the Empire is basically in rule, they're using, I think she's described Mandalorian technology or something to that effect for weapons, and they're transporting them. And she wants to take this ship that's got weapons. And this is how and they're basically sitting on the top of the Razor Crest in this dock as they're looking over at this big, huge ship that she's basically saying, yeah, I want to take the weapons off of that ship because, you know, they're going to, you know, they're the Empires and we want to take something like that. He's like, yeah, I'm down with that. Okay, yeah, I'm down with that. So that's the plan. What's the plan? Well, they can't leave the orbit. You know, they can't really hit their thrusters when they're in dock. Basically sounds like logical stuff, right? And she says, what we're going to wait is as they ride, we can't sneak on because they scan for life forms, right? Blah, blah, blah. So once they take off, we're going to try and board, which they do. And it's heavily guarded by stormtroopers. Man, these stormtroopers suck, man. What is up with stormtroopers? Those guys can hit the side of a barn. But they start to beat down on these stormtroopers, and the bridge says, hey, we got pirates again. Oh, great. We got pirates. Hey, lock them down. There's a really cool exchange as they're trying to take this ship, and she goes for the cargo area, and and they're telling him, hey, man, they're coming to the cargo area. Get ready. And the guy who's in charge of the cargo area is just classic. You know, he says, hey, wait a minute. Whoa. Shut all the doors, because they're coming in. Oh, actually, you know what? I want to back up for just a second. Man, I hate it when I miss important points. When they announced that they had pirates on this Imperial ship that's carrying all these arms, you know, he's like, okay, no big deal, you know, pirates again. And then there's an announcement, they're Mandalorian. And the look on the pilots' faces, the 2 pilots are basically like, oh, crap, bro. Man, we're screwed. You know, that's the look on their face. So anyway, so anyway, they're in the cargo area, and the guy down in the cargo area who's shut the doors is basically relaying back to the cockpit and says, I think we got him locked down. And he goes, where did you lock him down? He goes, they're in the cargo control room. The what? And as soon as he said that cargo control room, they were in the control room. They opened up the bay doors and sucked him out. He was done. And now they're in the control room. She's got her weapons. Bo's got her weapons. Now, Bo had been dropping reference to something that she's looking for that's bigger than, you know, bigger than just these weapons. Is it here? Is he here? And she was referencing the Black Saber. Now I'm going to talk about Bo Katan Kryze as soon as we kind of wrap up this episode. I'm going to get into her story. I'm going to tell you who she is and where she comes from and what this Dark Saber represents to the Mandalorian general. But let's wrap this episode up to explain to you that at this point, you know, he's done. He's like, cool, you got your weapons. Cool, I'm out, right? Now, the bridge is like, you're never, you know, even if you guys jettison with a couple of crates of these weapons, we're going to hunt you down and we're going to kill you. That's what the captain of the ship says. To which Bo replies, I'm taking this ship. Get ready. So he's freaking. He's like, what? Mandalorian's like, dude, no, that's not part of this deal. She goes, I'm changing the deal. Wait a minute. That's not part of the code, basically, is what he's thinking. But she had dropped the line, and I think she was kind of doing this, you know, she knew exactly what she was doing when she was doing this. I'll tell you what. She had dropped the line, this is the way, on him a couple of times. A couple of times she dropped it on him, and she did it again. She dropped it. She said, hey, man, if you want to meet some Jedi, you're going to help me take this ship. He's like, all right, let's do it. Well, the bridge is heavily guarded, right? And as they're going for the bridge in the classic, video game style, they're just taking out stormtroopers left and right. The bridge is pretty heavily guarded. They're having a tough time getting to it. And the captain had called and basically helping say he calls Moff Gideon and says, we've been boarded. They're coming. Send help. And he says, where are they? They're on their way to the bridge. He goes, it's too late for you. We ain't sending no help. You know what to do. I don't exactly remember what the exact line was, and maybe someone in the chat can tell me if you guys saw this. Was it Hail to the Empire? I think it might have been Hail to the Empire. Because he says, when you know what to do, the captain of this ship pulls out a gun and kills his 2 pilots, sits in the chair and nosedives this sucker. He's going to take this ship down and kill everybody on it. Hail to the Empire. Craziness, right? Boom. Bo and Mando, they're like, oh man, we don't have enough time. They're counting off how quickly this thing is descending, and it is about to blow. Mando's like, man, I'm just going to take the hit. He knows that the armor is going to hold up. He gets out in the middle, just takes all kinds of blows, and does, drop a couple bombs on these guys so they could get to the cockpit. The captain ends up, pulling the classic, chomp down on my tooth to murder myself thing. So he's dead. They do save the ship, right? They save the ship. And now Mando's got to get what he came for. And remember, this whole thing is about information. He came for some information. And she says, all right, you did good. I didn't find the Dark Saber, which is what she was kind of looking for. But go to Caladan. It's the forest planet of Corvus. And you're looking for Ahsoka Tano. And boom, so she drops. Boom! Ahsoka Tano is coming. We know she's coming. Is it in the next one? Or did we already see her? Was she kind of hiding over there in the port earlier? I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. That's kind of how we end that episode, right? And I want to get into the next topic, which is the topic, I think, of the day right now. The hot topic on the YouTubes is, who is Bo Katan? And I want to talk about that. So I took a bunch of notes, and I'm just going to kind of read you guys some of the notes, which is the beauty of doing it this podcast style. You don't get to see me fumbling around taking awkward sips of coffee. Hey, Lisa Noble and Kay Titus, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you guys this morning. I will still give that ode to Bo Katan Joe for that awkward sip of coffee. All right. Bo Katan Kryze is the sister of the Duchess Satine Kryze, who was the former ruler of Mandalore. Now, where's all this information coming from? Clone Wars. You gotta watch the Clone Wars series. It's available on Disney Plus. And it really was awesome. I mean, it really was awesome. You gotta think about what Star Wars, since Disney took over, what is and what isn't canon, what is, part of the story and what isn't part of the story yet. Because, some of the things that originally weren't part of the story are now coming back. They're introducing, they're bringing them back. But let me keep going here. Okay. Her first appearance came in the cartoon. Again, as I mentioned, voiced by Katie Sackhoff, voiced by Katie Sackhoff. Her first appearance was in a cartoon, and she was a lieutenant in what they called the Death Watch. Now, the Death Watch was serving under a gentleman named Pre Vizsla, and he was a Mandalorian. Now, Pre Vizsla Pre Vizsla is a descendant of Tara Vizsla. Man, there's so much. Man, when you're talking Star Wars, you can just go into the timeline. So, okay. So her first appearance was in a cartoon as a lieutenant in the Death Watch, serving under a gentleman named Pre Vizsla. Now, Pre Vizsla was a direct descendant of Terra Vizsla, who was the creator of the Dark Saber. Right. So, what's the Death Watch? And what's up with the sister, the Duchess Satine? Right, well, the sister Duchess Satine was like a pacifist, right? She wanted to change the ways of the Mandalore, and she didn't want them to be as aggressive. Well, the Death Watch was under the watch of Pre Vizsla was like, no, that's not how it works. You know, we need to have weapons. I've got the Dark Saber, I do believe, at this point. Pre Vizsla had it, so he was basically claiming he's the ruler of Mandalore. Man, how do I explain this Dark Saber? All right, Dark Saber. Okay, you guys ready for this? Here's a quick recap of the Dark Saber for those who need to know. The Dark Saber is basically the key to uniting Mandalore and the Mandalorian people. Okay, so think of the Dark Saber as the key to the planet. Whoever actually possesses this thing is the ruler of Mandalore. And this is important because when you hear this story, you're going to understand why Bo does what she does. So the only way to take it, supposedly, is to kill the possessor of the blade or challenge him to a trial by combat, which is what Darth Maul does to Pre Vizsla. And let me explain that. Now, we know as we're watching the show that the Dark Saber is currently in the hands of Moff Gideon because he cut his way out of that lightsaber in the final scene of end of season 1, right? And we know if we're watching the cartoon, at the end of all of this story that I'm going to tell you, Sabine will give the saber to Bo because she deems her worthy to take Mandalore under her rule. What happens in between these two things? We don't know. Hopefully, we're going to get those filled in during this series. I was really hoping there would have been an Easter egg, but there wasn't. All right, let me get back to her history here. Now, the Death Watch, say, again, control Mandalore, Pre Vizsla. Okay, so remember we talked about Darth Maul? Darth Maul didn't die. By the way, he didn't die when he got cut in half. No, he lived on to be a real bad character. And at one point, he was actually rescued by Pre Vizsla and Bo Katan. And it wasn't just him, it was him and his brother. They were rescued, right? And instead of just killing him right there, Pre Vizsla had an idea. Another one of those phantom kind of things. You know what? I got an idea. Let's get Darth Maul and his brother to wreak havoc on the planet, which they did under the name the Shadow Collective. And then when we catch him, when the Death Watch catches him, we'll be heroes. We'll show the other people of Mandalore that the Duchess, being pacifist, is going to get us all killed because she couldn't handle the Shadow Collective, but we could, and that'll put us back in power. And guess what? It was right. It worked. Unbelievable. His plan did work. Now, the tricky part is he went and double-crossed Maul and decided that he didn't want to keep up his end of the bargain. He was going to go ahead and imprison him. Maul wasn't happy about that. Maul went ahead and challenged Pre Vizsla to a duel. And remember, we talked about the person who holds the Dark Saber rules Mandalore. Maul beat him, took the Dark Saber, and proclaimed himself ruler of Mandalore. Well, most on the Death Watch swore their allegiance as they had to whoever held the sword. As I mentioned, it was the key to Mandalore. So they, swore their allegiance, but not Bo. Bo's like, no, I can't recognize a Mandalore leader that's not a true Mandalorian. So she and a couple friends bounced. They got up out of there. Now, Darth Maul's got the Dark Saber. He's running Mandalore. Bo's on the run. And this is all coming from the cartoon, folks. And guess what happens next? the Emperor decides to visit Mandalore after hearing that the Darth Maul went ahead and imprisoned the Duchess, the pacifist Duchess. Now, Obi-Wan in the cartoon is like, dude, I want to go help. But the Jedi Council is like, no, you can't help them because Mandalore is what they called a, I don't know what they call it. They were in a zone, or they weren't part of the group. They were kind of like rogue. So since they hadn't, pledged to either side, the Jedi Council was like, no, you can't go. But he went anyway. Awesome episode. And he goes to try and save the Duchess, but he ends up getting captured, right? He actually not only ends up getting captured, he literally watches Darth Maul kill the Duchess Satine. And then he's saved. Bo and her group save Obi-Wan, right? The Emperor decides to show up on the planet, lays the major whoop-ass to Maul. As a matter of fact, I do believe the Emperor kills Darth Maul, and he takes the saber. Okay, man, look at this, man. The saber's changing hands. All of this is coming from the cartoon. This is the backstory of this great character, right? I mean, this spans through season... Oh, man, is it 7? Is it the whole season 7? I don't get that wrong. Anyway, so Bo has now formed a new group. It's not the Death Watch anymore. She's now called the Night Owls, and she's still looking for Maul, right? And while she's looking for Maul, she ends up meeting Ahsoka. And Ahsoka is locked up, right? And she tracks her escape to level 1313 of Coruscant. I got all crazy notes, crazy. She tracks her to level 1313 in Coruscant, and she recruits Ahsoka to take back Mandalore. And she actually gets approved. The Jedi Council say, yeah, go. You go to Mandalore while we're going to go fight the Clone Wars, right? And let's get this on. And during this, Order 66 is ordered. And Ahsoka is on the run, obviously, right? Now, back on Mandalore, there's been, someone had to be left in charge when the Emperor left, and that dude's name was Gar. And I do believe Gar has the saber, because Bo takes it from him. I do believe it, right? Now, there was a moment during that meeting that she said something very interesting. She said when she first met on the episode, on the Mandalorian episode, when she first met him, she said that there was a great purge. Now, what the hell is the great purge? Now, the great purge is when the Emperor came and killed Darth Maul. They took all the Beskar. Isn't this right? Great purge, right? Beskar was taken, right? The Great Purge. No. Okay, we don't know what happens in the Great Purge. Okay, that's the end of my notes. Yeah, okay, so check this out. This is where I stand. This is where I need help. This is where I want everyone to help me understand the story a little bit. Good morning, Glenn Smith. I appreciate you for stopping in. So, at the end of the cartoons, Sabine Wren defeats Gar and gives Bo the Dark Saber. So that's how it ended. Now, during the Mandalorian episode, Bo Katan says the Great Purge. We don't know what happens here. But somewhere in there, in this Great Purge, she no longer has the Dark Saber, and Moff Gideon ends up with it. And she ain't dead. So I wonder what the hell happened. Now, interestingly, if you watch the cartoon, she was torn accepting this thing. She didn't want to accept that. She was offered it earlier in, and she wouldn't accept the Dark Saber because she didn't want the responsibility. So since we don't know what happens, did she just give it up, give it away, give it to somebody else? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like her personality to, not fought for it after finally accepting it and being the ruler of Mandalore. I need to know what happens in the Great Purge. How does Moff Gideon get his hands on the Dark Saber? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. If you are in the chat or you're watching this on the rewind, you want to drop comments below, that would be fantastic. You know what I forgot? If you are watching and you haven't given me a thumbs up, go ahead and give the stream a thumbs up. That is so much appreciated. Let's get to our next topic. I think I kind of covered what I could there on episode 2 and Bo Katan. I don't think we're going to see her again for a little while. In my opinion, the way the show is kind of playing out, it seems to me that, you know, like we got that quick Easter egg of Boba Fett at the end of episode 1, the Marshal, and I don't feel like we're going to see him again for, you know, I don't know. I just don't. Maybe we don't even see him again for the rest of the series. I don't know. And now we get, you know, this huge, awesome episode, action-packed, just fan service to the end for anybody that watched the cartoon. And hey, Access Blockbuster is a new subscriber. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out this morning and subscribe to the channel. And I just feel like, oh man, where did I Access? Thanks, you got me messed up a little bit. Given us that cartoon sneak, I just don't think that we're gonna see Bo in this team again. Until maybe, you know, in classic fashion, I don't know how many episodes this season goes, but watch the final episode give us another tease of each of these characters that they tease during the course, because we know we're getting Ahsoka at some point coming up. We still haven't seen the characters that were in last season that we know are pictured in this season because they were in the trailer. So each one of these episodes is going to give us somebody new, somebody different, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. All right, real quick, I want to talk about Marvel Comics. Man, Marvel Comics is killing it. I just want to talk about the latest Darth Vader, number 7. If you guys are not reading I know I'm missing out. There's 4 total titles, right? We talked about the 4 total titles in the last podcast. The 4 current Marvel Star Wars titles include Star Wars, which I think has been fantastic. It's telling, you know, these are all kind of set in the same time period, it looks like. Star Wars, telling the story after Empire Strikes Back, before Return of the Jedi, right? Luke lost his hand. He just found out Darth Vader's his father. You know, how does he get into their lightsaber? How do they come up with this plan to get Han back in the beginning of the next movie? All those things that, you know, that happened in between there and there. We're learning a lot more about Leia. It's just been fantastic. Well, even better has been the Darth Vader series. They're introducing this last episode, number 7 of Star Wars Darth Vader Marvel, has been fantastic. Matter of fact, you know what I'm just going to do? I'm going to read you kind of the recap. At the beginning of every Marvel comic Star Wars episode, they kind of give you that Star Wars crawl. You know the crawl. You know, right? You know, at the beginning of the movie, you get the crawl. Well, the Star Wars crawl for this one says, Into the Fire, Part 2, The Assassin. Now, Darth Vader revealed the truth. He is Luke Skywalker's father, but Luke refused Vader's call to the dark side of the Force and escaped. Enraged, Vader tore through the galaxy on a quest of revenge against everyone who hid Luke from him. Following Vader's defiant actions, Emperor Palpatine brutally punished his apprentice and left him broken and stranded on Mustafar. Brutally awesome. And as you open up this, it's a flashback before he became Vader and he was still Anakin. And it's literally from the movies. You know, the first panel is saying, he says, all of the Jedi, even the younglings. And Anakin replies, all of them. And remember, this is the first time I think he calls him this. You have done well, my young apprentice. Now, Lord Vader. And that's the first time you hear Lord Vader. Okay. Now they jump to Mustafar. And remember, he hasn't been to Mustafar since he was back there and laid waste to this place. So he's having flashbacks he's hurt. I mean, he's got one arm, he's got one leg. He is literally scratching and clawing his way into the bunker on Mustafar. And the first thing he sees, well, he starts to have a flashback. He has a memory of the last time he was there, right? And the last time he was there, remember the little droids? Beep, 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 beep. Welcome, Lord Vader. We've been expecting you. And then he starts freaking laying waste to everybody, right? He's having that memory because one of the guys that he kills, remember the guy that yelled, "The war is over. Lord Sidious promised us peace," and he kills that dude? That dude is still laying in the exact same spot on the floor. He's just rotted and decayed. And Vader is crawling towards this all these bodies. All the damage in this room he created. Now, he stops one of these little droids that is still running around. And he tasks it, I don't know what he does with it. He kind of talks to it, and he tasks it with go and get some parts. And half of the bodies in this room were droids, remember? There were all those little droids, and they start bringing him droid parts. Here's a leg, here's an arm, and he starts getting to work. Just bzz, 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 bzz. These droids are starting to, put him back together because he is pretty much a robot, right? All right, well, in the last episode, you gotta remember he's being hunted. He's being hunted by this new character. But he's badass. And there he is. Oh, there he is. He comes in and he is hunting Vader. Yeah, Vader is hunted. The hunted one. And the guy's like, dude, you're hiding? Really? Come on, man. Now, there's a great splash page. Vader coming out of the ceiling, lightsaber, blasting. Now, part of the protocol to this mission was Lord Vader wasn't supposed to use his force powers while he was down here, right? He could use his lightsaber, but he wasn't supposed to be using his force powers. So, not using his force powers, he's kind of been getting his ass kicked by this guy. I don't know if it's ever been revealed if it's a girl or not. I think it's a guy. But who knows? With Marvel Comics and Disney, it could be a girl. So, there's this. You remember, Mustafar is a planet of lava, right? So as Vader's, having this battle with this guy, this Sith killer I think is what he proclaimed himself. There's a great scene where Vader actually gets him by the throat, and he looks down. He is standing in lava, but since he's made of robots, it doesn't really matter. Kind of cool. Anyway, the final splash page of this is just been amazing. This particular the Sith killer does look like he gets away, but there's a reveal because a tunnel is revealed on Mustafar. And Vader says, "Oh, you gotta go check it out." As he goes and checks it out, there's this crazy looking creature that's coming out of the lava, and it looks like it's got like a pig head. And then maybe a huge kind of spiderish looking thing. And it says, oh no, I'm sorry. Your fury cannot solve the riddles of the Eye of Webbish Bog. Man, I should have put an image of that up. It is really cool, man. The Eye of Webbish Bog. And that's the final page of this issue. It's Darth Vader, issue number 7. It's fantastic. I can't wait for my next one. I think next Wednesday, is the next issue of Bounty Hunters. Yes, I think Bounty Hunters is next. The only title that I'm not actually currently reading is the what's her name? Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra is the only one that I'm not reading currently. All right, well, that's it for Marvel Comics Darth Vader number 7. I'm going to actually wrap up this podcast, this show, this video today, talking about some news that I saw the other day. CGC Private, I don't know how to spell it right. Private signing? No, how about if we just put CGC Harrison Ford? Yep, you heard it. I think it's kind of freaking cool. CGC announced yesterday or maybe Thursday that they are going to be having a private signing. As you know what? Beauty of this. I left this information out. This information out. No, it's not. They're going to be having a private signing with Harrison Ford. And my mind's racing. What am I going to send to CGC to get Harrison Ford to sign it? I think. I was thinking, there's the one cover. I don't even know. I'm serious, man. I'm looking for I'm probably going to do the action figure variant cover. A Han Solo action figure variant cover. Because I've been digging all the action figure variants. I'm either going with that one, or I have some really nice series. I think I do have a whole series that was just solo, 1 through 4. But then again, we're talking Harrison Ford. It doesn't necessarily have to be Star Wars. You know, I can go with Indiana Jones. That was one of my favorite Harrison Ford characters for sure, would be Indiana Jones. And I have a couple of those comic books. I'm just wondering if there's anybody else who's interested in getting a piece, a Star Wars piece. Would you be interested in getting a piece, you know, signed and certified by CGC? Specifically, if it was a comic book for us, being comic book collectors as we are, I think that would be one of my keepers. You know, I talk about only having whatever the equivalent of the one short box of slabs. When it's all said and done, all of this collection will go away and be consolidated into 20 Grail slabs. The ones that, unfortunately, I told my children they're going to put in the casket with me. I'm taking them with me. That's right. My top 20 slabs are going in the casket with me. I think a Harrison Ford signed Star Wars slab might make the cut. For me, in my opinion. I mean, man, that's good stuff. Especially for a Star Wars fan. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and put a bow on this one. I do appreciate everybody who stopped in today. You know, just a little different format, just a little something to get back on the air, to get some content out there for YouTube. And I could talk Star Wars all day, so I figured this was a good one for me. Glenn Smith, thanks for stopping by. Lisa Noble is still here, and Flash Ray says, I love those figure covers, right? Ooh, a Scotty Young Darth Vader #1. Very nice. Very nice. All right. That's it for today. I appreciate everyone. If you see right here, YouTube is probably suggesting a new video right over here. And then I have a playlist right there. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, we had a good time.